Live. Late breaking. This is 4029 News at 5.
Good evening, I'm Allison Wise.
And I'm Lakyra Banks. This just in, the death toll has now risen to 15 people and about 30 others are injured after a vehicle struck a crowd on Bourbon Street in New Orleans earlier this morning. We have team coverage tonight from local security efforts to a woman from New Orleans who says this new year is harder to celebrate than others. More on that in just a moment. For now, though, we do want to get you this live look outside. This is in the River Valley. Today's been quite sunny and pretty decent overall. A quiet start to the new year.
That's right. Melissa Hall's going to join us. She's in tonight for Derby Bybee. Melissa, how's it looking right now?
Well, you see that gorgeous sunset there in the River Valley. We're still about 15 minutes away from official sunset. And even with all that beautiful sunshine, it was still a little on the cool side for January the 1st. We've got low 40s to mid 40s, hanging on to the 50s there in Boonville. But as that sun goes down, those temperatures, they're going to go down with it. By the time you're walking out this evening, maybe to take the dog for a final walk, already in the 30s, and we wake up tomorrow, everybody right at freezing or below freezing. But we've got two cold fronts that I'm tracking out that are going to be a big game changer. We're going to talk about that here in a few.
New Orleans, one of the nation's most popular places to ring in the new year. The French Quarter is often crowded with people and parade goers. In an instant, overnight, sounds of celebration gave way to terrified screams, the roar of a truck engine and gunfire. New information tonight. The number of people who died as a result of the attack is now up to 15, with many more injured. The FBI is investigating this as an act of terror, and the suspect has been identified as 42-year-old Samsid Dim Jabbar, a U.S.-born citizen from Texas. The FBI confirms that the deceased suspect had an ISIS flag at the time of the attack. Here's a live look from New Orleans right now. Reporter Ivan Rodriguez updates us on the investigation into the terror attack. Lakyra.
And we do want to warn you that some of what you're about to see may be disturbing.
An earth cam in the French Quarter captured the moment overnight when officers raced toward an unspeakable act of violence that left witnesses stunned.
There were just bodies and the screams. I mean, you can't think about, unhear that.
Investigators say a rented Ford pickup plowed through revelers, leaving several people dead or injured on Canal and Bourbon Streets.
The disfigurement and the bodies strewn, something you can't unsee, you'll never forget.
The FBI says the attack appears to be an intentional act of terror.
After hitting the crowd, he exited the vehicle and fired upon local law enforcement. Law enforcement returned fire and the subject was pronounced deceased at the scene.
The FBI confirms that the deceased suspect had an ISIS flag at the time of the attack.
The subject has been identified as 42-year-old Samsid Dim Jabbar, a U.S.-born citizen from Texas.
The FBI confirmed that improvised explosive devices were also found at the scene. Questions swirl around how he accessed busy streets on New Year's Eve in the first place.
These metal bollards literally come up from the ground to prevent a vehicle from gaining enough speed to cause the kind of mass damage that we saw this morning.
Those barricades were not up, period.
We are committed, no doubt, to uncovering all details surrounding this tragedy.
In New Orleans, I'm Ivan Rodriguez.
Now, when it comes to keeping people safe, law enforcement officers in Arkansas are always evaluating safety measures.
Valerie Zhang's live in Fayetteville now. Valerie, can you update us with what those officers have said about events happening in our community?
Allison and Lakyra here at the Fayetteville Square. The Fayetteville Police Department say they have a bollard system, which are those metal posts that you'll see in certain places. And those are specifically meant to prevent cars from going into those areas where there are a lot of people that are walking, whether it's in and out of shops or just meeting and gathering. And they've been recently installed within the past couple of months. And I also spoke with the University of Arkansas Police Department, the UAPD, with big sporting events drawing large crowds in Fayetteville. Tomorrow, women's basketball plays LSU at home at Bud Walton. And while plans vary game to game, there are officers stationed, a centralized command post set up, and barricades to direct traffic. All measures for both people and cars.
Through Fayetteville Police Department, we have what's called a water jersey barrier. We can take a large barrier and fill it full of water We also have what's known as a Meridian barrier that was obtained through a grant through the County Department of Emergency Management. Those are metal barriers that are designed to stop vehicle traffic.
And tomorrow, if you're planning to go to the game at Bud Walton, Mills says he's confident in their safety plan. There will be trained officers there, and when you go into the venue, you'll go through a metal detector. Live in Fayetteville, Valerie Zhang, 4029 News.
And we're learning more about that suspect involved in the deadly New Orleans terror attack. The suspect has been identified as 42-year-old Samshud Dimjabbar, a U.S.-born citizen from Texas. The FBI says the attack appears to be an intentional act of terror after the agency confirmed the deceased suspect had an ISIS flag at the time of the attack. What happened last night in New Orleans is affecting people around the country today, including right here in Northwest Arkansas.
Jacob Murphy's live in Fayetteville, where he met with a woman who grew up in New Orleans. Jacob.
Well, guys, Robin Guadagnini grew up in New Orleans, and she moved here to Arkansas when she was 12. Today, she still has a piece of the city in her, and when she woke up this morning, that piece was filled with both sadness and shock.
It was hard for me to say Happy New Year.
Tragedy in New Orleans.
I was stunned.
Sending shockwaves across the country today.
Mortified, anxious.
Robin Guadagnini lives in Fayetteville, but New Orleans...
It's a great city. It's a deep south southern city, so you feel welcome the minute you're there.
...will always be a part of her.
It's a place we love. It's a place that feels like home.
And she carries it with her every day.
Still love a fleur-de-lis, still have a Saints on my car.
This morning, Guadagnini checked her phone and saw the headlines.
You need to think of just the scars that'll be left.
Of a place she knows so well.
You have memories of being there or walking by it.
What happened last night isn't just going to go away.
Kind of like post-COVID, post-Katrina, you could tell there was things that were different, but it still had the feel and there was still the warmth and the hospitality there.
But Louisianans are strong. Take it from Guadagnini.
They've been through hurricanes, floods, everything, and they always band together and fight back.
Guadagnini does say that she has several friends still living around the New Orleans area, and she says they're doing all okay today. Live in Fayetteville, Jacob Murphy, 4029 News.
Coming up, a Georgia native who was in New Orleans for the Sugar Bowl shares his emotional story about the terrorist attack that took place earlier this morning. And after 4029 News at 5, stick around for World News Tonight with David Muir as they share the latest on the Sugar Bowl and the New Orleans tragedy.
Now we'll get to your Get Ready weather forecast as we take a live look in Fayetteville. It's been nice and quiet for us here at home. Melissa Hall is joining us again. She's here for Derby tonight.
Yes, so Melissa, how's later tonight shaping up?
Well, it's going to be a lot like it should be for January the 1st. The sun goes down, those temperatures, they're going to fall very quickly. So if you got some things to do outside, yeah, bundle up as you head out. But right now, things are fairly calm. That's going to change as we get into tomorrow. If you did have any bit of a breeze today, it came in out of the north. And it's one of those days where you look outside and it is gorgeous. Plenty of sunshine. We just didn't get the warmth to go along with it. Topping out in the low to mid 40s in Northwest Arkansas. You already have a handful of folks in the low 40s in the River Valley, Mountainburg. That's where you're hanging out compared to 48 in Pecola, 46 in Greenwood. Now tomorrow, that wind that's been very calm today, as you can see in this shot from the Graduate Hotel, beautiful sunset, still about 10 minutes away from it officially being completely gone. Well, those winds, they switch from being out of the north to out of the south, and it's going to be rather breezy at times, gusting 20 miles an hour. But with that sunshine and that southerly breeze, we're going to see milder afternoon highs as we get into our Thursday. But two cold fronts are coming and they are bringing some very cold temperatures. In fact, the coldest we've seen so far. We're going to detail that out here in your full forecast.
Well, new laws go into effect starting today. This year, they will affect everything from medical care to marijuana and social media to concert tickets. New York becomes the first state in the U.S. to offer paid time off for prenatal care or medical care related to pregnancy. And Kentucky is now the 38th state to legalize marijuana for medical use. Or medicinal use, excuse me. In Tennessee, people 18 and under will need parental permission to make a social media account. And a new law in Minnesota looks to eliminate hidden fees for people buying tickets to events. New laws also going into effect here in Arkansas. The Protect Arkansas Act will make it so people convicted of first-degree murder must serve their full prison sentence. The Arkansas Learns Act fully goes into effect this year. So starting next school year, all students will be able to apply for education freedom accounts. This allows tax dollars to help pay for private and homeschooling.
Also happening in the Sooner State, drivers in Oklahoma will pay more on the turnpikes, and it depends which turnpike you take. For Pike Pass customers, the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority says it will average to about 1 cent per mile. For everyone else, it will cost an extra 7 cents per mile. Plate pay users will pay more. OTA says the changes are needed to help fund access to Oklahoma. The 15-year plan is set to improve the turnpikes across the state. OTA will continue to increase tolls by 6 cents every other year, starting in 2027. Power has been restored to nearly half of those across Puerto Rico after there was a massive blackout that plunged nearly the entire island into darkness just as they were ringing in 2025. Residents were scrambling for gas to fill their generators. Shops were closed down, traffic lights were down, and the airport was dark.
I'm really frustrated by this because it's not the first time it happens.
We have to do better about the infrastructure here. This is unacceptable.
The White House issued a statement saying President Biden's been briefed on the outages and called Puerto Rico's government to offer federal assistance that the island may need to try to speed up power restoration.
Well, tonight we're learning more as the FBI continues their investigation into a deadly terror attack that happened early this morning on Bourbon Street in New Orleans.
We'll take a live look there now. When we come back, our coverage continues. Football fans are rerouted after the Sugar Bowl was announced as postponed for 24 hours.
And we leave you with this live look in the River Valley. When we return, 4029's Melissa Hall is tracking potential winter weather coming our way. Stay with us. We'll be right back.